You know exactly who we're talking about, right? You've seen them at a meeting, a party, maybe just hanging out with friends. That one person who listens way more than they speak. And they get so misunderstood. We label them as shy or bored or maybe even a little aloof. Well, today, we're going to pull back that curtain and find out what's really going on inside the mind of the silent observer. And that brings us to the big question. Why? Why do some people just naturally sit back and observe while everybody else is jumping into the conversation? On the surface, it seems pretty simple, but the psychology behind it is it's surprisingly complex and really fascinating.
You know, our minds are so quick to just jump to conclusions. We see that silence, and we immediately try to fill in the blanks. We think, are they shy? Are they bored? Wait, are they mad at me? We might even assume they're arrogant, thinking they're above the conversation, or maybe they just have nothing to add. But what if all of those assumptions are missing the point completely?
All right, so the first step to really getting it is a bit of a mental shift. It's about realizing that for a lot of these folks, the main priority isn't to display what they're thinking, but to just fully experience what's happening in the moment.
There's this huge myth that a quiet mouth equals an empty mind. But the reality? It's often the total opposite. For the silent observer, being quiet is an active choice. It's their way of completely absorbing and processing everything that's going on around them, without the pressure of having to perform or constantly broadcast every single thought.
I mean, think about it. A conversation is so much more than just the words, right? You've got body language, you've got the tone of voice, the whole energy of the room. By stepping back from the need to always be talking, the silent observer gets to take all of that in. It actually leads to a much richer, more immersive experience. They're not checked out. If anything, they are fully checked in.
Okay, but this choice to experience rather than display, it's often driven by something else, something really crucial: managing their energy. For a lot of people, social interaction isn't just about what they prefer, it's about protecting their own inner peace.
It really all comes down to this idea of social energy. The best way to think about it is like the battery on your phone. Some things charge it up and some things just drain it fast. Well, for many quiet observers, those high-intensity social situations are a massive power drain on their mental and emotional fuel. And just look at the difference in that energy drain. Constant, intense interaction can just tank their social battery at an incredible rate. But quiet observation? That's kind of like putting your phone on low power mode. It lets them stay present and engaged without totally burning through that precious, finite resource.
And that is why they often keep things brief. When they do decide to speak, it's usually concise, right to the point. This isn't because they're being cold or dismissive, not at all. It's a deliberate protective strategy. They are conserving their energy to keep from feeling completely wiped out, and in doing so, they're preserving their inner peace.
So when you start putting all these pieces together, the whole picture it completely changes, doesn't it? What we might have once seen as a social weakness or some kind of flaw, we can start to reframe. We can see it for what it actually is. A different kind of strength. It's a deliberate, even powerful way of navigating the social world. It's the strength of careful consideration, of seeing patterns that everyone else misses because they're too busy talking.
So the key here is a really simple shift in perspective. The next time you're with a quiet observer, just try this. See their silence not as them being disinterested, but as them being an active observer. And see their brevity not as coldness, but as a really smart act of energy conservation. And this all leaves us with a really critical question. In a world that so often celebrates and rewards the loudest voice in the room, what are we missing by not paying attention to the quiet ones? What powerful details, what nuanced observations, what profound insights are hiding right there in plain sight? Maybe, just maybe, the most important things aren't the ones being shouted, but the ones being quietly understood by the person who's actually paying attention.